getting back to the testing in this 2-week period. A year ago, when I first got my detection, magically, Casella was able to do 48-hour turnarounds. And I think in a case like, sorry, I forget his name, John, where his detection is so volatile, it should be almost mandatory that he gets a 48-hour turnaround, and not a 2-week waiting period. I mean, it can be done. Yeah. Casella has done it in the past when it suited them. They wanted to get data so that they could present it to this board. So they took samples from like Thursday and had it turned around so that they could be here on Tuesday with the data. So it is available to do a 48-hour turnaround. It costs money.
We've seen it a lot.
Uh-huh. And again, it does. I'm not saying it has to be for the whole testing, but in a case like his, where you go from 0 to 60, it should be almost mandatory that they come back, take a test, and get those results immediately. He should be on a public system, and he should know it.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I can really add to that is, and I apologize, I don't know your numbers off the top of my head, but in looking at it, once when they do each sample, they collect your house, they collect a duplicate, and they test both of those. So if there's a detection in yours, they run the duplicate. So by providing data to the board that there's J hits and real detections, they're providing us the actual sample and the duplicate result. So I feel pretty comfortable that that data is real. It's not just one set of data, it's a blind sample compared to it. So it's real. And if it's a J and you get J twice, that's a real J. So yeah, would it be nice to get the data quicker? Yes, that's going to be the mandate if necessary, but I don't really see him doing that.
No, I don't either, because it costs them a little extra money.
I am very pleased that DEP put forth that monthly sample. And I hope you guys are, because that's
absolutely.
The issue I have,
Almost
Gary,
unprecedented.
if you could explain this to me in layman's terms, because I don't quite understand the 522 testing method and why they're not set parameters. Because up until this last round of testing, I was a J. They changed the parameters of that 522 and raised the high limit or the low limit. I don't understand the whole process, and now I'm clean.
Did your well have other contaminants in it?
I'm a 1-4,
Okay.
no VOCs, so I get no filtration or nothing. And now, like I said, this, because in my mind, they changed the parameter up until now. When they were testing at those other limits, I was a J. They raised that limit, and now I'm off the board.
It's beyond, to be very frank with you, it's beyond my technical expertise. It is analytical lab. And to keep it really simple, the method's not certified everywhere yet. I've used the lab in the Midwest. I've used Alpha. Alpha's a very good lab with a very good reputation.
And they can take it down a lot lower.
Well, see, that's where I have to speak on it. I'm not an expert on analytical chemistry. If Ben was here, he could speak much more about that. The bottom line is and don't take this negatively. The way I look at it is we want defensible, reproducible data. When we get really low in a new method where the labs can't even reproduce their data, I question that. The fact that they had it before and they don't have it now, I have a little bit of a problem with that. I'll agree with you there. But we need solid, defensible, reproducible data. And I believe the lab's argument is that. we cannot, the lab says, 0.15 is the best we can do. That's, we've tested and tested, and that's where we're gonna stay. Certain methods, the detection limits change with the tests and with the duplicates and the blanks and everything. My understanding is that alpha's staying with this 0.15 essentially. Unfortunately, we need to wait until the methods get finalized, things get, you've got the best people working for DEP trying to answer that question. The director of their lab is looking into this. So if he's looking at it and doesn't like it, something's gonna change.
Well, to me, to your point, you want standard data, basically.
Right.
Well, I had standard data up for a year. They changed the limits, and now that data is now changed. So it's, to your point again, it's not standard anymore once you start changing those limits. And my detection disappears. Along with my detection, my bottle of water could disappear. Eventually, I know it's not
Yeah,
gonna happen tomorrow.
I think the
and
language
I'm
of that
on
is-
it like a hornet.
I think people are on a Hollywood Hornet because that it was J, it was there as a J. I don't think it's gonna go away until we all get this wrapped up a little bit better and have a little bit
Well,
better confidence in
what scares me,
it.
Gary, is my water tests have to get worse now
Well,
for me to be detected.
the good
You've got
news-
the data, you go back and look at my data specifically and what the limits were when they took the test and why I was a J and not. And look at
Yeah, you had
this last one. And I mean, I'm not a chemist, but I can figure that out.
I maybe can help you with that limit information, because I
please do.
kind of come.
Yeah, I know you're in the background.
So what they do for a lot of these tests is they generate a calibration curve, okay? And they create samples at the highest level and the lowest level they want to detect to, and then a number of points in between, okay? So they generate those data points, and they say the system can be calibrated within this amount, okay? And they generate and extrapolate out a curve. Anything beyond that high limit that they test for, they can't guarantee those numbers. They cannot guarantee anything below that. But in addition to that information that they want to create this curve for, there's instrumental limits, okay? So they might be using they're using GC mass spec, I believe, in this. So they might have an inferior grade of GC mass spec. There's different ones out there. So their range is going to be limited on what their instrument can detect as well. Now what they do, I believe, is with their range that they're setting, again, that's the calibration limits, the high, the low detectable limit. Beyond that limit is the J hits. So what they see is they know they have X amount for this amount of contaminant, analyte, okay? Then outside the limit, they have a little blip. And they can tell on that blip, and that's what the J hits are essentially. It's a mathematical, they run it, say, 6 times or whatever. And they can go, something this high related to the lowest level, which is this high, is half of that amount. And that's where the J hits come in. And they can detect the probability on those J hits based on that. And that's kind of how all the volatiles are done.
Right.
And it's, again, it's based on, the limits will change, and you see this in the reports that the limits are maybe a little higher sometimes, a little lower sometimes on the ends, and that's based on the calibration that they do for that particular run.
And what you were getting at, or what, yeah, not being able to come, you want that inner range, that curve, to be really good, really accurate, really defensible. Once you get beyond that lower point, it's questionable.
But
It's
you
not a
can't-
question if it's there, it's a question of what quantity is there. How accurately can you say what's there? If there's a peak there, there is contamination.
Well,
It's
there's
just a
2 points.
question of
Right.
how much is there.
Is
You
it-
cannot say.
Is the peak in the right spot, first of all? And then
Right, and it's
second,
based on retention
Yeah,
time, that's
so-
what's considered retention time.
is the peak in the right spot is the first thing. Did it come out? Did it elute at the right spot? And then, yeah, what is it? Is it
So-
.001? Is it .1? Is it .2?
So by choosing not to report JHIS, it's making it appear as though there is no contamination, when the reality is there is contamination. You just can't say with great confidence what that level of contamination is.
So let's say it this way. Let's talk about zero.
Okay?
There is no zero.
Exactly. Exactly.
So since there's no zero, the VOC detections that you're getting, that when your VOC reports show below reporting limits, there could be something there. The problem we have is, we had old methods, reports, JHITs that show something. Again, I don't want to beat this to death, because again, there's people way smarter than me working on this. And like I said, DEP has their experiment station trying to come up with a good answer for this. Until what I heard from Kevin Doust was, until the legislation comes through to get the method approved, we're not going to get good resolution on this. So, good, no pun intended, resolution. But everyone's looking at it. I think you're absolutely right. Because it says BRL .154, please don't think that's a zero. I don't think that's a zero.
Right.
And that's what you guys should be thinking. And you're a perfect example, because you had something that showed, somebody along the line, somebody told you it was .07, and now they're telling you it's BRL .154. Well, it's the same number, in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bring it back in because we kind
Yeah.
of strayed off a track.
Please.
I do find it somewhat interesting, so I let it go on, but it's, you know, yeah, anyway.
Please.
It's an education, you know, that, yeah, anyways.
Lastly,
Well,
and
last,
I'll try to wrap it up too. Do you guys have any idea how much Casella has spent on this testing?
not at all,
And you have no idea how much they're spending every month to provide bottled water?
no clue.
Because you know where I'm going with this. It's just adding up, and they could be using that money to put municipal water on the street. It's, I just, it boggles my mind. They see the solution and they just doing everything but what needs to be done. And I know we had a really good meeting with DEP. I hope that this board doesn't become idle and let DEP be the dog in the fight. It's our dog in the fight, and you guys have been great, and I don't want them, it's great to have them on our side, but let's stay on offense with this, with Casella. Let's not just say, well, it's in DEP's hands, let them do this and let them do that. I don't think you guys will, but I need to say it just so I feel like I've said it.
No, and in that case, Gary's the owner, he's on it, so. Daily.
Yeah, I'm on it daily, and I talk about, you know, the provision of a public water line a lot. And I think in this next report, we're gonna probably see a little bit more about that, because they're clearly not pleased with the 2 or 3 cents response in the last one. So,
Okay, if there's no other business on that, we're gonna move on to the, Mr. Philbrook's department head reports. Moving on, Jim then, see if you had anything else for us?
Well, it's a bit of West Nile virus, I think, that we post out there, and it should be, there's another reported case. For pets, your children and stuff, they're recommending getting at least a D.
Where is it?
Outside of Boston, I believe. That just came out like maybe later this afternoon. As you know, Emily Simons is gone, and talked to Robin today about staffing issues in the office. And she's going to be bringing that forward with an increase in Andrew's hours and replacing Emily. So she wanted me to let them know that she has to bring this forward, you know, to the selectmen and to the FinCom issues that they're hiring a new, someone who works in the office that would be overseeing hiring and stuff like that to relieve Robin of some of that. So she's gonna do that all at once, but she realizes that